Well, hello there again, friend. How are you today? Today we're talking about the B7 chord, and we are digging deep into this rabbit hole. It's a little bit more complicated, a little more complex than the songs that we've been, or the chords that we've been doing in this sort of, in their triadic form. We've got, triads, which basically, which root 3, 5. I have do, re, mi, fa, sol. And we're using do, mi, and sol, or 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For example, in the C chord, a C scale, it's C, D, E, F, G. And then we're only using, for chords, we're using those 3 notes. 1, 2, 3, do, mi, sol, or 1, 3, 5, or C, E, G. In this case, we're using C, E, G, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're using 4 different notes. We're stacking a 7th on top. That's why it's called B7. It's called B7 because the root note is right here on B. And by the end of this video, you will know all about the B7 chord. So we're going to start with fingering the B7 chord. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît. We're starting with the B7. So finger 2 on fret 2 on the A string. Finger 1 on fret number 1 on the D string. Finger 3 makes its appearance on the G string. The ring finger on the G string on fret number 2. Open B string is sort of just there as an open string to remind us that, oh yeah, it's a guitar and open strings sound lovely. And then fret number 2 on the high E string is covered with finger number 4. And you notice my thumb up here. Maybe it's on purpose or maybe it's just like years of bad habit. But I would recommend that we keep the thumb down on the back of the guitar neck. Do you know what I mean? Just an important thing to remember. So what we'll do is we'll choke off the low E string for now, and then we'll come back to that in a little bit. We'll choke off the low E string and then play an arpeggiation, which is just a complicated word for play one note at a time from the bottom to top. Just to make sure that we have everything clearly articulated in this chord. We also want to make sure that we can I did a little something extra there. All of those are chord tones, though, from the B7 chord, right? The chord tones in the B7 are this, right? We have B, D sharp, F sharp, A, and then B, or fret 4 on the B string, on the G string, if you wanted to create a closed position without any open strings, so that we could really just basically move it anywhere we want. We won't do that now because we're focusing solely on the B7 chord, of course. And we're looking at B could also be the open A string with B7 with an A in the bass. You don't always need the root note in the bass. The root note in the bass, the root is the sort of the B note. It's a B chord, and if we have a B note in the bass, that means it's a B chord, right? But if we have an A note in the bass, we could do that. It's still a chord tone of B7. Just follow me along here for just 1 second. I'm going to walk you through change bass. So we're changing the bass note. So we're using the B7 chord, but as soon as we change the bass, it's like kicking the legs out from underneath the table or something, It's just maybe half of the table is still standing, but it's a little crooked. It's not the full weight of the B7 chord. It functions as the B7 chord, but we've got a little bit of a flat 7 problem in the bass. And to me, by problem, I mean it sounds great because it creates the tension that we need to root back up to the B note. And we've got our trusty metronome here that is running at our usual 60 BPM, or beats per minute if those laymen are just joining us. So we've got a a really cool thing going on here. I'm going to use the pick for this one. I'm going to play the same thing that we usually do is we like to get a strum pattern going with a bass note, in this case, the root note, and then the chord strum. I was working on this with a friend the other day, like through the G chord, the D chord, and the C chord, and the E minor. The first thing that we want to do when we learn a new chord, once we get the grip, maybe we can just start having some fun with it and strumming it, you know. So I hope you're playing along. I hope you're just kind of hanging out and playing along, because I'm playing bass note and then chord strum, bass note and then chord strum. We could kind of speed up our chord strum if we wanted to create a different texture or timbre sound, or we could use the A note once in a while, every, you know, fourth beat or whatever, fourth bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And you can see right away how that changes the function of the B7. And then you could even walk back up to it. You could also go down to that B7 with F sharp in the bass, which is pretty common for us country rockers, country guitar players. Country picking or country guitar strum patterns on the acoustic guitar especially really work well if you just kind of gliss over the top. You just kind of unfurl that chord slowly in a controlled manner, right? And that comes from that controlled strum, that unfurling of that B7 flag comes squarely from practicing forward rolls, that arpeggio that we did when we started the chord. What we do when we learn a new chord, we go grab that, we grab the shape, we get each fingertip to land in its at its destination simultaneously. And once we achieve that, we'll go ahead and arpeggiate. And you notice if I arpeggiate and if I get a little anxious, you know, most of our tendency is to load up the string and then kind of fall through and stop on the next smaller string. Nothing wrong with a rest stroke. It's a really great technique, valid technique. There are things you can only do by using a rest stroke. But what we're going to try to do is, instead of using rest strokes throughout, we're going to try to just control the right arm so that it doesn't just, it travels at the same rate of speed no matter how, as it goes through each string. It doesn't, we're not popping through the string and resting. It's just one slow, controlled movement. You can really examine what I'm doing with my right hand, my picking hand. That's really what I'm talking about. Take a quick look at that. You'll notice that I have to really work hard to not go right to the next string and rest. So if we have that level of control in our arpeggiation, both ascending and descending, that really helps us to become more sensitized to really great rhythmic guitar playing. And that's a secret that, you know, most of us don't want to share because we want you to clickbait onto my video and basically feel like, you know, you're going to be able to learn the guitar in a moment's notice. You know, you're going to learn it right now, and if you can't, well, there's something wrong with you, not my teaching style or not my guarantees or my promises to you. But what I can tell you, what I can share with you is that I haven't found any shortcuts, any observable shortcuts, and I've tried. A lot of my friends have tried. And there's really no shortcut to just spending the time with it and getting to know yourself through the guitar and, you know, your physical abilities, you know. turn off the cell phone, get the metronome going, and then live in and absorb the world that you're manifesting through practice, through quality practice. Kenny Werner was talking about, I'm just going to keep this alternating bass pattern going here because it's worth looking at. But while I'm doing this, Kenny Werner was talking about, a lot of us talk about practice makes perfect. Well, what if you practice like shit? You know? Then you play like shit, you know? John Hooker was, allegedly asked one time, how do you play so well when you're just so hammered drunk? And he's like, well, it's easy. I practice like that, and I'm not encouraging that at all. I'm just talking to you about how you practice is how you play, and hopefully we choose, good, healthy decisions and good choices. But if we practice like junk, we play like junk. But if we practice perfectly, if we shoot for perfectly, then we play perfectly. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? So that's the thing to remember from that little session there. But I wanted to talk about B7 is also the beginning of a really famous and really fun song that I just recently did the full guitar tutorial of Johnny Cash's. That song. You can find that on my on the thingamajiggy up there, the card or whatever. That little eye, that little circle dot. If you're on a computer, you can find it. You know how to use the internet, man. Come on. And probably better than I do. So, but what I'm doing right here is I'm really working on bringing ourselves out of that little sort of cramped up second position, right? We can really enjoy some funk. We'll come right back to this. It sounds a little bit wonky. It sounds cool, but that B string doesn't necessarily work over all the strings. So we could start working on B9, right? B9 is an extension, which we can plug into that. But before we get there, I just wanted to show you this other thing, this other way to get out of that B7 open position, the boxed position, And most of us are some of us are looking to expand, beyond. First thing that we could do is right on the same four strings. We've got this 4 middle strings. First finger is sort of like doing not double duty, triple duty, not really triple duty triple duty because we've got finger 1 on fret 2 and then finger 3 on fret 4 and then open, no, not open, fret 2. How did fret 2 get there? Finger 1 lays over. And then it actually lays over the top first finger lays over the top 5 strings, right? And all we need to do, I'm saying this like it's an easy thing to do, is while we're keeping this finger straight, unbent, it ain't bent. These two fingers are. We've got a third finger on fret 4 on the D string, and then a fret 2 on the G, and then a fourth finger on fret 4 on the B, and then we've got a B7. We have all the notes, B, D sharp, F sharp, A, and then B, right? We have a B, an F sharp, A, and then a D sharp. It's a different configuration, but it's cool. So here's the B7, and this is a guitaristic voicing, which now is closed. We have no open strings. So that means we could turn it into a C7 anytime we want, or a C sharp 7, or a D7, or a D sharp 7, or an E7. You guessed it. Yeah, we can have an E7 there, an F7, F sharp, G7. So we get sort of like up into different areas, but what's going to happen when you practice, if you sit down and practice for more than 15 minutes at a time, it's a good idea to take a break and be sure to stretch. Stretching is an important part of things. 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, straight elbow. 30 seconds here, straight elbow, 30 seconds here, straight elbow. When you do this, and you breathe, you couple it with quality breathing skill, you come back to the guitar a refreshed guitar player and ready to learn more, right? And once you practice for more than 15 minutes, you might find yourself, going through these other explorations. What can I do with this chord? And then I get to a place, I recognize that as something completely unrelated. And then, snow, I'm drunk and dirty, don't you know, but I'm willing. I'm still willing. So it's okay to go off on those side tangents and then do some discovery-based learning on your own. I would think that that's where we all sort of need to be, in order to find our own musical voices anyway. But let's go back, let's jump right back to the B7 and right back into the quarter note grid here at 60 beats per minute, right here on the device, the YouTube channel or whatever you're watching it on, TV, your YouTube TV, probably not, cell phone maybe, mobile phone, tablet, maybe laptop, desktop. How do you consume your videos? I'm curious about that. That might impact how we deliver videos. So if you want to share any of that stuff, I'd be really interested in hearing about that. Here's B7. Now we have B, F sharp, A, and D. We're about to invert this sumbitch. So we get this D sharp on fret number 6 on the A string. I'm going to hang out here for you to catch up, right? It's not too bad. It looks horrible, looks horrific, for the fretting hand. It looks like a disaster area, it's but we have it's not. We have 4 fingers. We have our thumb in the back of the guitar neck to support good finger positioning on the fretboard. We have D sharp, A, B, and then F sharp on the top. So finger 3, or finger 2, that's finger 2 still, right? And then finger 3 on 7. Finger 1 reaches back. It's not a real reach, but it is a bit of a, if you haven't done this before, you got to work for it a little bit. And that means positioning the thumb, and then make sure that we've got a straight elbow. We don't want to bend the elbow and create workplace injury. I know it sounds funny, but if you play for more than half an hour a day, you could create workplace injury over the years, right? So we want to create good posture for sure. Here I am sort of slouched over like Sasquatch, but we've got this nice posture, beautiful posture. We've got a D sharp, an F, no, a B, no, wait a minute, an A, right? And then a B, and then an F sharp, which is basically the same thing as this B7. I know it's kind of tedious, but this is really where the rubber meets the road right here. This is what frees us. This is what gives us musical freedom to transfer our ideas in real time, hopefully one day, from our thoughts here to the guitar, to the instrument for which it's made. That's the purpose. So B, F, A, and D sharp, right? So we have B, D sharp. Next chord tone up is A. Next chord tone up from here is A to B. Next chord tone from D sharp is F, right? So we literally moved each note in the previous position up one chord tone. So that's what's happening. We're just basically keep pushing those notes, inverting them up the guitar neck. So the next one is going to be on, position, I'm going to call it position number 3, 5, 7, number 8, okay? Finger 2, finger 3 on fret 9. We have a F sharp, we have a B, we have a D sharp, and we have an A, which creates, again, that B7. It's got that, not that it's not sophisticated, because that's a very sophisticated intro, and many of us adore it, so check that out. I got the full tutorial again. But this is really cool, because now we have one more to go, and I think this next one is my favorite inversion of all of these, right? So reminder, we're on the middle 4 strings, so we have an F sharp. It's really a good idea, if you can, to spend some time getting to know the notes on your fretboard. The notes on the fretboard. Some of us, I've heard some people talk about the fretboard as like it's an infinity. It's one thing, it's one point. But it takes a little bit to get there, but you can do it, and it's just exposure. Just continue trucking gear up and down the fretboard, and then as you do it, be thoughtful and mindful about where we are, and then eventually you just got it. So we have an A, which is fret 12, right? And we have a D sharp, and then we have, what is that one? Was that F sharp? Fret 11 on the G string? I think so. And then B, right, on fret 12. So we have 2 notes on fret 12, and these 2 fingers are doing a dance in the middle. A little minor third in the middle, right? So that's the flatted 7 on the bottom, which we started this session out with. Yeah, really cool stuff. So B7 lives all over the guitar in its natural form. In its natural state. We can alter the heck out of it, create some really cool stuff. That's a whole separate thing. just experiment. What happens if I move one of these notes around? Oh, it sounds like garbage, but there's an actual application for that chord. There's an actual application for that one, this one, this one. There's something for everyone, but I would encourage experimentation wherever we are. What happens if we approach the chord from a half step underneath or below? We could parallel playing these things around, which creates a whole bunch more interest. For example, lower neighbor. We'll call it a lower neighbor. You could approach from up, a half step above. Or a half step underneath. Either way, it's up to you. We talked about inversion, inverting these chords through the 4 middle strings. Let's take a quick look at the top 4 strings. So we can start here. We've got the B7 that we had here. We're going to change it up and put that flatted 7 here, the A note on the high E string. So we got top 4 strings. Here's the B major chord, basically triad, right? Inverted on the second version, and then flat 7 on top. And then we have the flat 7, 3, 5, and then 1. This is all over the B chord. And then we have a root inversion, which is 1, 3, 2, 4, fingers, fingers 1, 3, 2, 4. And then we have frets 9, 11, 10, and 11. And then we're heading up to the last one, which is going to be B, and then D sharp. We have a D sharp. This is a little challenging when we get up here, so I want to just take this one a little more caution, with a little more caution. So D sharp, A, B. Remember the 12th fret is the same as the open string. We have a B note there, and then the F sharp on the top. And then we could reach, kind of look like an octopus here, taco, a pretzel. Let's see, and then, fishing in the kenai. And you look at the rod looks, when you get one of those salmon on, or a big bow or big trout. The rod just, even it's a heavyweight rod, but it still folds in half like a taco. Just amazing. And just amazing. The Kenai Rivers, I highly recommend checking out the Kenai. So we've got that really cool arpeggio or inversions of the B7 chord on the top 4 strings. We have the inversion of the B7 chord on the middle 4 strings, and we should complete that study with the inversions of the B7 chord on the bottom 4 strings. So we're going to start with 5, 1, 3, flat 7. And then we put the flat 7 on the top, flat 7, 3, 5, 1, which is the same thing as that. Looks a little different because the B string, it would look like that, but the B string's tuned a half step lower, and we just have to compensate. You know, B string's a funny one, but we welcome it because it's a, without the B string, what would we do? And then we have the 1, 5. This is the root inversion, like we had root inversion here and here. 1, 3. The fingers 1, 3, 1 is barred over the bottom 3 strings, and then we have that first finger on fret. What is that? 3, 5, 7, 8. Chord tones are B, F sharp, A, and D sharp. Yeah, and it's a real sort of like kick in the to walk through this stuff for the first time. It can be really intimidating, but I don't want you to be intimidated. B7 is here for us to use, and then there are all kinds of reasons why I might want to write a song with this darker sound. Maybe the Seattle movement's coming back, And then we have that, just use all of those chord shapes as best we can. We have the root note, and the final one, root position, is 3, and then how does this one work? It's 3, flat, 3, flat, 7, 1, and then I don't play this one a lot. It's like this one, right, with 5 on the top, but and again, that B string just kind of, it looks like this down here, right? So we have that B note, or D sharp in the bass, D sharp in the bass. It's a little bit more interesting. The fingering looks a little more modern, angular, so I would encourage you to really learn this one. It's good. And then back to Place From Whence We Came. And that's B7, my friend. B7 all day long. I can't play it, but I'll work on it. So I guess that's a good place, as good place as any to end, unless you wanted to talk about single note soloing over the B7, right? I would do whatever I could, starting with minor pentatonic on fret number 7. which is 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4 1, and stopping on the root notes so that we can tonicize the root notes and observe them. As B notes, right? So those are safe notes to land on. All of those are B octaves. I would use minor pentatonic over B7, or minor pentatonic with a flatted fifth, which is also known as the B blues scale. One more thing that we could do that would help to really flavor it up like the 7 chord needs is we could slur that sort of a combination scale between just adding that major 3 in there is just I don't want to overlook this because it's so important to our cultural experience as guitar players, American guitar players, and now it's sort of global, right? We've got this imaginary line between the flatted 3 and the major 3. So you could slur. You could basically play minor pentatonic with major third instead of minor third, right? So it'd be sort of an altered major pentatonic, altered minor pentatonic. Right? I don't do it a whole lot. I use that slur more frequently than I just kind of omit that flat 3. So that flatted 3 moves up to the major 3, which is part, or the D sharp part of the B7 chord. Go ahead and talk a little bit about it with your guitar, of course. I'm going to give you some chords if you wanted to play along. Simple ideas. See where they lead you to. All right, so we've got a little bit of that figured out. We have minor pentatonic that we could use. We have altered the blues scale, which is minor pentatonic plus the flatted fifth. We also have the major, the combination between the minor and major third. Right, so that anywhere you can landmark that D, we could make it a D sharp to make it major. D, D sharp, D, D sharp. And you can either slide into that D sharp, slide out of it into the D flat or the D natural, and then, a lot of those inflections are going to create your own sound. So be mindful of how you're practicing that stuff, but definitely do practice it because it's a really enlightening experience. So if you want to really practice that stuff on your own, just get a really simple 15-minute loop of that B flat or that B7 chord and just chunk it away. Just play like you're the rhythmic accompanist for the date, and then just record it on your cell phone or something, or your computer or your home studio, your digital audio workstation, and just let it play for 15 minutes and on a loop maybe. Maybe once in a while just kind of jump up to create, just maybe a half step up or a half step lower, and then resolve back to the B7. But just hammer on that for 20 minutes. I know it sounds a little funny, but this is a great way to just do it. Just learn how to play the scales that we talked about over the B7 chord. But I think that's a pretty good place to end today. How do you feel about that? You feel okay about that? Are you good to bring that home with you and then you work on it over the week? Yeah, okay, well, good. I'm glad that you stopped in today. I'm really happy that you're still playing your guitar. I'm happy that you're enjoying these chord rabbit holes, because I'm definitely enjoying them. I know I don't get all sort of giddy all the time and act like, woohoo. I feel like that inside, but I really like to try to stay focused and keep a nice sort of even presentation, because I think it's helped me in the past, and I think it's helped others in the past, and hopefully it's helping you. And just keep playing the guitar. And I guess I'll bid you adieu for this week. And hope you have a wonderful one. And until next time, happy picking.